My name is Glenn Buckholz. I have about 20 plus years experience in the IT industry. Recently, I've come to work for AWS as a senior solution architect, and my specialty is migrations. I am a certified solutions architect. I have the associate certification. I'm working on the professional, just so you know. And I have, even before my time at AWS, I have moved both government and commercial entities, large enterprise entities, from physical data centers into the cloud, both AWS and before my time at AWS, even Azure as well. So I do have a lot of experience with doing this. So practical questions about what this looks like are welcome. And with that, if PowerPoint will cooperate, we will move on. Let's see. There we go. So what are the drivers for transforming your business? Why are you going to move to the cloud? Basically, AWS sees thousands upon thousands of migrations, and we have, basically been able to categorize the drivers in 4 top level, why we move from the cloud. And we've given those sort of personas. You have the CIO perspective, where this is technology focused. They're looking at application modernization in the cloud, new customer experience, and agility and staff productivity. Now, let's talk about agility and staff productivity for a second. Think about it. I've been working in the IT business since the early aughts, and back in the day, somebody wanted a server. There could be much as a 3 to 4 month lead time to put in a server order from Dell, and then you had to calculate electricity draw, calculate cooling needs, make sure you had enough space in the network rack, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even after you got the server verified and put it in, you're talking about month lag time. In AWS, on-demand computing allows you to click a button and have a server. So if you want to try something temporarily, you just have this nice clean playground where you spin up the compute resources, pay only for what you use, and then toss it when you're done. Or if it turns into something more, gives you a quick platform to scale. So that agility and technology-based, persona is the CIO, and that's one reason we've seen people move. Another is security and compliance, the CSO organization. There are a variety of managed services in AWS that allow you to monitor your workload at a very granular level and make sure that you are compliant. In addition to that, we have the shared model of cloud computing, where there are a certain level of resources that AWS takes care of the compliance for you. You can look up the details to that at artifact.amazon.com, but there are many standards and compliance frameworks that we are available to, or that you can run your workloads on and pass all of them, like HIPAA, SOC 1, SOC 2, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very long list. I don't have all of them, but you can look and see. And the artifacts at that website, will hold for your the artifacts that you need to pass the audit. So that can be very helpful. You don't have to worry, unless it's some obscure compliance scheme, you don't have to worry about that. And a lot of the tools to help you ensure that the part of the cloud that you are responsible for as a customer are compliant. We have many services to help you do that as well. So it can help you from a security perspective. From the big data perspective, we have a variety of Internet of Things and AI ML resources available for you. Everything from the raw infrastructure to allow you to run GPU instances only when needed, so you don't have to waste money on buying those expensive GPU instances that may sit idle for a period of time, to basically AI ML CI/CD pipelines. So you have very quick ways to change and evaluate your models. And we also provide the infrastructure to host many, 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 terabytes or petabytes of data, so that you can ingest all of this, process it, and then analyze it with the models that you've created. So not only do we provide a place for you to create those AI ML models, but we create a place for the data to exist so that you can put those models to their best use. And lastly, from the CI, from the infrastructure perspective, you're looking at being able to scale globally quickly. If you want to bring servers up, if you have a new market in, let's say, Europe, we just have data centers there that you can bring up capacity. You don't have to send people out and open up a European office, although you may for other reasons, but you don't have to do it for IT, right? You do have to follow whatever the local compliance guidelines are, but you basically don't have to worry about the infrastructure that's there. And especially if you're new to a particular market, that can be a lot of overhead that's saving you. So you can move very quickly globally. Vendor consolidation and cost optimization as well are also some of the key drivers as to why you want to migrate to the cloud. So I've gone over that. And does anybody have any questions as to why people are moving to the cloud? Okay. So the next question is, why use AWS to migrate your workloads? In my title, I am a migrations specialist, which means that we have services within AWS of all types to help you get from point A to point B very quickly. And here are some of the advantages you'd have by leveraging AWS, not only to host your workload, but help you get your workload into the cloud. We have the most migration experience, over 1 million active customers, and leading brands migrate. NL, Coca-Cola, the Washington Post are just some examples of the work that we've done. We have an extraordinarily broad range of migration tools to help you get from point A to point B. You want to do a lift and shift and just move your servers. We have tools integrated into the AWS console that will help you do that. You want to move your database, we have tools to help you do that as well. You need to move, large volumes of data. We have a variety of appliances that can help you do that in a cost-effective way as well. We've thoroughly vetted many different pathways to get to the cloud, and we have the tools and processes to support that. Also, we have a broad partner ecosystem. Not everybody wants to make the journey to the cloud alone. Sometimes there's expertise that you're only going to need once, and you don't want to invest in training, or you need to augment your capacity to make certain goals. And I do apologize, but I'm hearing a lot of
Tom Glavin, and can you mute? And Alex Zotov and Ravi, can y'all all mute? Tom, can you mute since you're making lunch or something? Or can you mute them? Steve?
Sorry about that. It's the first time I've used Zoom. I apologize for that. I'll mute. Yeah. Sorry about that. I thought the default was to mute. I didn't realize you had to. Apologize for that.
So
it's okay. Yeah.
No big deal. In the era of COVID, the am I on mute or can you hear me go hand in hand.
You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
We have the most complete migration solutions. A solution is something that's going to get you there. And AWS has mapped out complete solutions that include tools, processes, and partners that you can invest in. And they're forged through the experience of many thousands of people who have already made that journey. So that it's a pattern that has worked and very likely requires very minimal modification on your part. So you don't have to blaze that trail by yourself. You can leverage what other people have done to get you there faster. So those are some very compelling reasons as to why you should not only move your workload to AWS, but why AWS is the right choice to help you get there. So what are some of the benefits that we've seen across these thousands of migrations once people get here? What is the brass tacks? Well, 31% of the people who come to AWS see or I'm sorry, there's a 31% average infrastructure cost savings for the people that come to AWS. And that's including total cost of ownership. So when you no longer have to take care of the everyday maintenance, procurement, and racking, stacking, and checking to see if things are alive, that can be a significant savings on your side. And that's about what people are seeing at scale. About 43% less fewer security incidents per year. AWS services, we give you a strong set of secure defaults when the services are deployed. And typically, you need to go out of your way to make things less secure. Now, sometimes that's a requirement for your application workload. But like I said, the defaults lead to 43% fewer security incidents. That and the fact that in the shared security model, AWS expertise is taking care of parts of the cloud and infrastructure that would normally have been in your hands. And we leverage that scale, experience, and specialization to give you a higher security posture. We see a 62% in IT staff productivity boost. Basically, the ability to leverage the web UI and those predefined services to spin up the resources that you need on demand and spend them down when you're done allows people to just get more done faster. It's, I just can't stress this enough. The first time I brought one customer to the cloud, they were in a physical data center, and they had about 40 or 50 developers working on 2 or 3 different projects. And we had an incident in the cloud where there was an accident and all of their servers, all of their development servers were deleted, right? In the past, the program head was thinking about how he was going to explain to the department chief that they were going to be 2 or 3 months behind schedule as these servers were restored. But because they had invested in the cloud and infrastructure as code, we had them up and running again before the day was out. And that sort of productivity boost is just stuff people hadn't seen before. And that leads to delivering more. About 3 times more features are delivered per year, just because that productivity boost and the increased agility that you get from working in the cloud allows you to focus on the thing that makes your business different, and you can focus on that one vertical and get things out faster. You don't have to worry about the undifferentiated IT heavy lifting. You can put all of your resources on the features that are important to your business. So now that we've discussed the why, what the benefits are, what are some keys to modernization success? So there are going to be 2 3-step models you're going to see here. This is overall for a complete migration plan or success story. And that's make a plan for your application portfolio, build an operating model and a service management framework, and don't do it alone. Use an external partner or use external resources to help you bridge that gap. Use people who have made the journey before to make your trip easier, right? And so first, we're going to talk about making a plan for your application portfolio. So one of the things that you want to do is take a hard look at your current IT real estate. And there are a variety of tools that AWS has to offer. We'll cover that a little bit later. But some of the things that people find out when they run these migration tools is there's real estate that they're just not using. It's there, nobody's looked at it in years, and it's just kind of nobody's bothered to turn it off. And we find that sometimes somewhere around 10% of the real estate can just be retired. It's not used anymore. Maybe it's part of an inefficiency in your procurement cycle, or maybe people forgot about it. But these are some of the things that the migration tools can bring to light. Also, there's an opportunity for SaaS, for some other offerings. There are things that you just don't have to do yourself. And if you're going through this migration and modernization process, it's seriously something you want to look at, because if there's an easy win, that's stuff that you don't have to focus on maintaining anymore. You can use a SaaS model, and that allows you to leverage more resources to your core business. So that's one pillar. Another pillar is when you move to AWS, we see a lot of lift and shift. People want to get the workload over so they can get that initial benefit of on-demand computing and decrease total cost of ownership through not having to worry about a lot of the maintenance needs that go along with having to manage that infrastructure. Everything from real estate procurement to managing HVAC systems to electricity needs, to racking and maintaining the servers themselves and buying hard drives, right? So they want to do a lift and shift, and then they'll worry about efficiency later. We have a variety of tools that can support that. We also have replatforming, where you go to a little bit more of a managed model, where it's some of the applications that you're familiar with, but we take care of the server management. And so it's a little bit higher abstraction than a simple IaaS, where you're doing infrastructure as a service. There's a little bit more abstraction. And lastly, we see about 20% people trying to do modernization and containerization. They're taking that old workload, or 20% of the workloads we see are people want to do straight modernization and transformation. So they have a Tomcat web server sitting on a Dell blade in their data center, and they want to turn it into serverless and not have to worry about the infrastructure beneath it. And they want to do that as part of the migration. There's a lot of value to doing that, but it is a slightly longer, there's a slightly longer engineering effort up front. And AWS does provide some ways to minimize that burden, but it is the most effort, but also the best reward. So you also need to take your timelines into consideration as well. That's why modernization is while it has the greatest reward, is not always the first thing that's embraced. We see a lot of people doing a combination of lift and shift and then modernization. Get the workload over, and then you can embrace those more modern techniques at your leisure as capacity allows. So when you're moving legacy applications, a couple of things are going to happen. One is you can migrate to free up resources. You can shift the licensing and cost models to the cloud. So think about licensing some popular software. Those licenses are always on renewals. I have this one story. We had a team of 120 developers, and basically I come in the morning, and just after my morning coffee, development grounds to a halt, and we find an exception in the code. It turns out that the license is expired. Now, we aggressively pursued renewing the license with the vendor, and we wound up losing about a day's worth of productivity. So a day's worth of productivity across 120 developers turned out to be a sizable chunk of change, right? By placing your licensing commitments and models to the cloud, you avoid some of those pitfalls. As long as as fast as you can pay the invoice, you can have the access to the resources that you need. With legacy applications, you can also scale infrastructure on demand. You don't have to rack and stack new servers anymore. And even if you choose to do a lift and shift, you can leverage your existing data with advanced analytics. Sometimes some of the advantages you get to migrating to the cloud are not just the on-demand resources, but the AWS services that now you can access, other AWS services that you can now access with the click of a button. And without much change to your existing IT infrastructure or real estate or application code, you can get insights that you could never get before. And those services are just there and available. And sorry, chat screen just got really big for some reason. And we can help boost skills and experience in the cloud, because it's easy to try things, easy to learn, and there are a host of ways that AWS can help you. All right. So what are some of the benefits of modernizing your legacy workloads? Return on investment, 442% ROI on Microsoft workloads. We work with your licensing and sizing and a bunch of other things to get you the ROI that you need. You know, if you're going SaaS, running SAP, 5,000 active customers, VMware, 43% reduction in IT infrastructure cost with VMware on the cloud in AWS, and that's just moving what you have to the cloud. For Oracle, people are migrating Oracle to the cloud, 350,000 Oracle databases using both our EC2 implementations and our, excuse me, managed services. And we see a lot of mainframe workloads moving to the cloud, and there is some modernization involved there, but that can be up to a 70% reduction in IT infrastructure costs. So those are some of the benefits of just moving your legacy applications to the cloud as well. So what does a typical migration workflow look like? Well, we have a migration plan where we figure out, we analyze that IT real estate and we figure out what we're going to do and we create a backlog. Migrate, we track the implementation, and then we have these migration waves that come over. Typically can't bring everything over at once. It wouldn't make sense to, I don't know, it wouldn't make sense to bring over an isolated application without access to maybe its Active Directory server. There are always dependencies you have to work out. And so this is the typical flow of a migration. You plan a backlog based on your real estate, you migrate the applications, and then you track the application performance and you keep bringing more stuff over. And there's something else at the end, which I'll go in later. It's not covered on this slide. So does anybody have any questions about what the basic, very high level structure of a migration looks like? So we break that down a little bit more into the assess, we call it the assess, mobilize, and migrate and modernize phase. So, you know, I told you before we had the application portfolio analysis, operational model, and do it with a partner. This is the other three-part model that we like to use: assess, mobilize, migrate, and modernize. And we have a number of different tools and processes to help you with the assess phase. Everything from figuring out what your total cost of ownership is going to be in the cloud and what the advantage is there, to briefings, workshops, and discovery tools to help with the next phase in mobilize. And then in mobilize, we have ways to, we have workshops and we have services to help you modify your operating model. We can help you create skill. We can help you get the skills you need through learning needs assessments and cloud centers of excellence. Show you how to do a landing zone with the landing zone activation day. So this way you have the infrastructure you need to migrate en masse. And this mobilize phase can be pretty significant. And basically, if you are a large company that's going to migrate and scale, this is setting up the structure for which you're going to migrate a majority of your on-premises workload into the cloud. And once this is set up, it can go very, very quickly. You know, the mobilize phase can take anywhere from 1 to a couple of months. And then once all of that infrastructure is set up, we have seen thousands of servers move in very short, relatively very short periods of time. And then lastly, we have the migrate and modernize phase. As your applications are coming over migration wave by migration wave, and you start to cut over, you can use the infrastructure set up in the mobilize phase to evaluate the efficiency of how you're running in the cloud, and then take optimization actions to reduce your cloud spend on a per month, per week, per day basis, depending on the patterns that you discover with the improved insight and improved monitoring once you're in the cloud. And this assess, mobilize, migrate, and modernize helps people move at scale very quickly. Now here's an overview of some of the things that we do in each of the phases and some of the AWS and partner tools that can help you. In the assess phase, you need to do inventory and build a business case. In AWS, we have Migration Evaluator to help you do that. We have the Application Discovery Service to pull out all of your applications and their dependencies. And we have the Migration Portfolio Assessment, which can take all of that information and help you plan your mobilize phase. Then we can do more deep discovery with the Application Discovery Service, kind of really take a look at all those dependencies. And this helps with planning the waves. We have the AWS, we can use the discovery tool to do the planning. And we use a landing zone to create a template of a multi-account structure so that you can start bringing the waves and you can start bringing the applications over very quickly. And we have the AWS Service Catalog so that you can manage your applications and your IT real estate in a regular way that's documented. Once you're ready to migrate and modernize, we have Cloud and Dorm or Application Migration Service, which is a very effective lift and shift tool. We have AWS Data Sync, which will get large quantities of data from A to B, from on-prem to S3 and in the cloud. And we have the AWS Database Migration Service, which can do a variety of different database migration scenarios, anything from like to like, you're going SQL Server to SQL Server, to heterogeneous migrations where you want to go Oracle to AWS Aurora Serverless, right? The DMS tool is very powerful and can help you with a variety of different scenarios. Also, not mentioned here, along with the database migrations tool, we have the schema translation tool. And if you're doing one of those heterogeneous migrations, it can give you a very real idea of what the effort is for refactoring. And we have some people that come in, think that they're not going to be able to refactor to an open source database for cost savings. And they find out that really it's not that big of a deal. And so at the very least, these tools are going to confirm your suspicions, but they may surprise you as well when you take a look at the analysis. We have a number of different partners that can help as well, listed below, and they're going to get you from, they're going to get you the information you need to make informed, data-driven decisions as to how you can get to the cloud in the fastest manner possible. Are there any questions about assess, mobilize, migrate, and modernize? Once you're there, it's very important to monitor what you're doing, and you do need some sort of governance service. You want to make sure that you're regularly monitoring your IT real estate, looking for optimization. And that's where we have partners like Cloud Health, AppDynamics, Dynatrace, Datadog, and NetScout to help you make those decisions in New Relic. So also, one thing that you can use to help accelerate your journey to the cloud is the AWS Marketplace. The AWS Marketplace has changed recently. In reInvent 2020, a couple of different things that can help you out. One is that a lot of the software you may be using on-premises and need licensing agreements for quite a while may just be available in the marketplace. And you can contact the vendor, work out a licensing, or just take the software off the shelf from the store and use it right away, right? And so that's one advantage. You're spending a lot of time over purchase orders, but you can get the software that you need from the vendor. And the nice part here is the vendor has taken the time to create an optimized offering on AWS. So you can be assured that when you're pulling that particular vendor software, they have constructed, the experts have packaged it in an AWS delivery format, and it's coming up licensed just at the click of a button, and probably one of the most optimized ways possible, done by the professionals. Now, that's one way the marketplace can help you. But the other is now that you can manage entitlements and professional service contracts in the marketplace as well. So not only can you get the software you need, you can get licensing, entitlements, and you can do some professional services contracts there as well. So really is a one-stop shop. One of the things that we have to realize is that a migration does not happen all at once. And so AWS has worked very hard to allow a seamless migration experience when you're caught in that hybrid state. And here are just some of the tools that we have available. We have VMware Cloud on AWS to seamlessly have vSphere span between your on-premise resource and AWS. We have AWS Outposts, where you can have compute racked and stacked in your own data center. You have AWS RDS on VMware, EKS Anywhere, so you can run Kubernetes in your data center and manage it through the AWS console to help you migrate over. We have our own EKS distribution as well that you can stand up. ECS Anywhere. If you don't need all of the orchestration facilities of Kubernetes, you can run your containerization, or you can run your containerized workload on your on-prem data center while managing it from the ECS console and slowly moving the workload over to AWS. We have Red Hat OpenShift on AWS or ROSA as well, just to get you from A to B faster. For data transfer, we have our Snow family of devices, everything from Snowball to a snowmobile. If you're not familiar with the snowmobile, it is a semi-truck with a generator that can drive up to your data center, put everything on S3 storage. This can be especially efficient. There is an old saying in IT, never underestimate the bandwidth of a van full of tapes. Well, AWS has kind of taken it to the next level with the snowmobile family. We have the AWS storage gateway if you want to do it all online, data sync to help keep track of it, and the transfer family of services if you want to use a FTP-minded way of getting your data from A to B. And for management and government, we have Systems Manager and CloudWatch to help integrate and watch over all of these things as they're happening. But it's important to plan for that hybrid experience so that you have a smooth transition as the waves are coming over. And these are some of the tools that can help you do that. So now that we've gone over making a plan for your portfolio, let's talk about building an operating model and a service management framework. So the first thing you have to do is decide on what operating model you're looking for. Do you want self-managed? You're going to do it all yourself. You can use the AWS Service Catalog, Systems Manager, or some third-party tools to help you out. Do you want AWS to help you? You know, we have AWS Managed Services, AMS, that can help address a lot of those scenarios and situations. And we have partner managed services as well, where you can negotiate specialized resources that you need and work with a partner to get the infrastructure operation expertise immediately while you decide on what your future posture is going to be. Maybe you outsource the management and focus on functionality, or maybe you just need to buy yourself time while you get all of the training and certification done. Whatever scenario is best for your business. So, excuse me, take a sip. Are there any questions so far? Anything people would like to talk about? Like I said, this is meant to be conversational. Okay. Moving on. One of the things that you want to do when you're deciding on your operating model is identify your technical and IT domains when you're modernizing, and you want to trend toward automation and automated governance as well. I used to run a change control board, and all of the changes for our IT infrastructure would come through on an Excel spreadsheet that was not very automated, right? And we suffered some of the typical problems of when you're looking at a line item in an Excel spreadsheet, you're not only always thinking holistically about the change, what other dependencies it has, and all of these other things, because you're doing a manual assessment of the change. And a lot of times people would try to go live or go to market, get their application deployed, and realize they hadn't submitted any of the firewall changes to make it work. So their release would be delayed for a week. You can use the automated governance, you can use the automation and the governance that AWS has to offer to allow you to sidestep a lot of those manual processes and allow faster cloud adoption, cloud adoption while you're doing it. If you're making these processes faster, you're making it faster to receive whatever your current on-prem workload is. And these mechanisms run the gamut, everything from helping you pick particular VM formats, OS standards, and do patch management, to normalize security and network rules and identity rules, services such as IAM and ACLs and security groups. You take a look at your storage, and we have a bunch of storage and database tools that help you make sure that things are presented in a regular way. We have monitoring and control mechanisms from CloudWatch. Use the service catalog to make sure that your offerings are deployed in a regular fashion according to whatever templatized methodology you have. And in addition to that, we can help identify, AWS can help identify training and learning new skill sets and tools. We have a lot of programs out there. You can ask your account manager, and there are a lot of things that we can even give away depending on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to learn. So there are a lot of mechanisms in here to help you with your governance, making it faster. One of the big tools that we've been using lately, ever since the white paper came out for recommended multi-account setup, or how you should structure a multi-account setup, is AWS Control Tower. And one of the reasons, some of the reasons that you want to go multi-account is multi-account allows you to separate concerns. It ticks a lot of audit boxes. And so the auditing and the security people are very happy when you can isolate things at the account level. However, management can become a bear. Making sure that the accounts have standard setups and templates and that there aren't any deviations could be difficult, because now you have all of these independent entities lying around. Well, AWS Organizations and AWS Control Tower brings all of that under one, brings all of those accounts under one body. And now you can push down guardrails and requirements to all of these accounts and still get the required separation, managing them easily instead of having to log into each account and run audits constantly to see how they're doing. And there is, besides security and auditing, there are some other important benefits to going multi-account. And that is limiting blast radius and resource consumption. AWS has quotas to help make sure that you don't spend so much. A lot of these quotas are default. And the more resources that you have running in your account, the longer it can take to figure out, why you're running into a particular resource quota. If you have narrowed down your workload and you segregated your workload into different accounts appropriately, then you know exactly what the issue is, and you know whether or not you just need to phone AWS for a new quota, or something is wrong and you really need to dive in and fix it. It helps you get to the root of the problem faster. But there's something else. When you consume all of the resources in your account, you run up against these quotas. It could cause other systems to fail unexpectedly because, maybe your web servers are consuming all of your VM allocations, and now all of a sudden your database needs a new read replica to keep up with demand, and it goes to try to stand up a new EC2 instance, and it can no longer do that because your web servers are busy, right? those are the types of things that you can monitor and keep a closer eye on when you embrace multi-account structure and you use tools like AWS Organization and Control Tower. So the multi-account thing is kind of complicated. Does anyone have any specific questions concerning that? Because a lot of people, when they think of AWS, they log into their AWS account and spin up a whole bunch of servers. But now, when you're dealing across account, that does change the picture quite a bit. All right. The AWS Management and Governance automation services enable an operating model. And here are some of the tools. So for setting up governments, we talked about organizations and Control Tower, but we also have budgets. You don't want to spend too much, or you want to get that alarm when things are heating up. We have the AWS well-architected tool. This is a really quick way to see if you are designing your applications to well-known standards, and it's free. For compliance, we have CloudTrails, the license manager. CloudTrails is going to tell you who made what change when. Had an incidence of hacking in one of our accounts, and it turned out we got to the root of the problem. Apparently, I personally had left some AWS keys out on the internet, and CloudTrails pointed us right to the problem, and we were able to take corrective action extremely quickly because we found the root, expired the keys, and then we got rid of all the malicious activity almost instantaneously. And then AWS config, can be a repository store for configuration options and help normalize configurations across environments. For provisioning and orchestration, we have CloudFormation, CDK, AMS, Marketplace, and for monitoring and observation, there's CloudWatch and X-Ray. And X-Ray I always find rather interesting. You can see, down to the millisecond or down to the function call what's going on when you have it instrumented correctly, and you can really tease out where application inefficiencies might be very quickly once you take a look at this data. And to help centralize operations, you have AWS Systems Manager, which is phenomenal when you're trying to manage a large fleet of VMs and make sure everything is patched up to date, or if you need to run a global command. AWS Cost Explorer, so you can pinpoint where all your spend is going, and cost and usage reports, so that you can have the metrics teed up for your particular organization and spend on a regular basis. So lastly, don't go it alone. Migrating can be a one-time event in an organization's life cycle, and you want to do it right. And you want to do it in a way where you're not spending education and effort on a one-time activity where you can get help and severely knock down the cost and the education burden for doing something you're only going to do once. By using a partner, you're likely to reach your desired outcome faster because you're probably working with somebody that's done it 100 times before. And because you're decreasing the timeline, you're going to probably reduce the operational cost of actually doing the migration. Probably going to make less mistakes by having that expertise on board. This is also going to give your engineers and developers time to dream and focus on innovation. Now that you're in the cloud, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to take it to the next level? Experience also brings best practices in terms of security and compliance risk, and also gives you time to develop the skills that you need for ongoing operation of the cloud without having to worry about that one-time motion of getting to the cloud. Additionally, partners can help train you quickly as well by imparting that operational experience that they have. So there are a lot of benefits to using partners. And now the AWS migration competency partners exceed about 130. Here's a quick chart of some of the people with whom we partner. And if you need help, either one of our partners or AWS professional services can step in and give you a hand. So bringing this all together, we have a solution called the AWS Migration Acceleration Program. And internally, we call this MAP. And I work in this program every day. The entire goal is to help people get to the cloud faster. So AWS has solution architects like myself coordinating and threading the needle between partners, professional services, managed services, training, investments that AWS will make in your migration, and expertise, methodology, and tools to get you from A to B faster. And if you become a part of the Migration Acceleration Program, basically, you're making a commitment to AWS, and AWS will return that commitment by making sure that you make it to the cloud quickly and in a way that has solid foundations for future growth. So if you have any specific MAP questions, please let me know. Migration Acceleration Program questions, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those. But the Migration Acceleration Program, for example, depending on the workloads you're moving, you come with a discount of 25 to 50%, depending on what you're doing for 3 years. So it bears looking into. Not only will it get you there, will help defray some of the costs, and will give you the expertise to get there quickly.
Hey, Glenn, would you mind going back one slide so I can see your partner? It's a pretty comprehensive list. Thank you.
Skills enablement is extremely important. If you are coming to the cloud, you need to learn about the cloud. We have, in order to support that, we have things that can help you get your journey started, professional services, partners, managed services. You can pull best practices from the marketplace, but for one-time needs, we have AWS IQ, on-demand help from certified third-party experts. And we have support, but mostly if you're going to have a long-term presence in the cloud, you want to develop the skill set of the people doing the work in the cloud, and the training and certification plan can be a huge advantage to making sure that you can do it yourself. For the things that you do most commonly, you can do it yourself. And for the needs that are most critical for the business, you have the information to make the best decisions. And your account manager can do a learning needs assessment and give you quick recommendations on your best path to success for picking up the skills that you need. So some actions that we recommend if you're going to migrate. Be selective on which apps to transform and focus on differentiators. Design and build a service management framework to enable your cloud operating model, and choose partners, bring skills and experience. And on number one, be selective on which apps to transform and focus on differentiator. This is very important. Doing a straight lift and shift, we're assuming that you've gone through the retirement piece of the migration, but if you're doing a straight lift and shift, remember, doing a transformation time-wise can be expensive. So you want to pick the things that are most likely to succeed in a transformation, so you can benefit from things like containers and serverless programming, and the things that are going to benefit your business the most. And a success like that will typically open the door for you getting some of those long-term benefits in the rest of the workloads. You want to lead with the success. So be selective on the apps that you're going to transform and the apps that you're just going to bring over. And with that, that is the end of my prepared presentation, and it is almost 2 o'clock. but I am happy to take a minute to answer any questions or talk about migrations in general at scale or anything else.
Okay, that's a lot of great information. So everybody's probably digesting a little bit still. Any questions at all from the group? You know, we can certainly go past the time here a little bit.
I have a question.
Sure. Tyrone?
How you doing? My name is Tyrone. I wanted to kind of go back when you're talking about the migration tools. I noticed that Direct Connect wasn't on there. I was wondering, can you kind of give me a brief synopsis of why is that?
Oh, Direct Connect is a network service offering and is, while can facilitate a migration, is not seen as a tool for migration. For example, let's take Cloud and Door. Cloud and Door physically repackages a virtual machine and puts it, takes away, does a lot of the engineering effort for you and puts it directly in the cloud, right? Direct Connect is, so there's a lot of work done in service of migrating something in these tools. Direct Connect is a multi-purpose, network pipe between AWS and anywhere, right? That allows you direct access to our computing resources. So it's not specifically for migration.
Okay, I have another question with that. I think you kind of spoke on a little bit by depending on what services you are trying to transfer over. I think you mentioned something about the migration period can take between a month and several months. Is that the reason why?
So this depends on the workload. Remember, I deal with a wide range of customers, everywhere from the small business who may have 2 or 3 virtual machines, maybe 10 or 12 virtual machines. That's something potentially that we could finish in a small number of days or weeks. But I also deal with enterprise customers who may have many thousands of machines. And through our advanced techniques, we can severely cut down the amount of time it takes to do that migration. But planning, when you're talking about thousands of machines, right, a month goes by very quickly. So the planning that takes place is usually very fastidious to facilitate the motion of all those machines and can take a month or 2, depending on what we're moving. Besides, we're working within the organization to get the application dependencies, figure out the migration waves, plan a schedule, decide on a cutover strategy, questions that have to go back to the business. Does this have to be a real-time cutover, or can we take a maintenance window? All of these things will impact the amount of time that it takes to do a migration.
Thank you.